Hey everyone, my name's Alexis and I'm sitting here with Daniela, and today we'll be going over our midterm project, which is a double acting oscillating engine model, which is most common in steam engines. And here's our model. We'll kind of show you what we did to complete that. The first thing we're going to do is show you our exploded view to kind of show you the sub-assemblies here in our drawing. Let me zoom in a little bit. As you can see, sorry, a little bit too close. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 all the way over there on the left. If I can move my screen, there we go. And yeah, so we'll be going into these sub-assemblies and showing you how we made these parts. And first up we have our sub-assembly 1. This is it. It consists of our main bearing, so that's all these pieces, our M4 fasteners, our main frame, as well as some M3 fasteners. And up next we have our subassembly 2. Here you can see our flywheel, our pulley, and then the crankshaft, which actually consists of 4 different parts. And here's the part file. I'm just going to give it a little turn for you so you can get a better view of it. So this is the flywheel mentioned previously, and the crankshaft is this whole middle section, and the pulley is just right here on the end. And as you can see, I'm going to click on this real quick. So there's a few press fits over here, and that's just because we didn't want to model them in the part itself because we wanted it to look like an actual. First, we're going to chat about the flywheel. The first thing that had to happen with this part, I'm going to go into full detail just because this was a more complicated part. We had the initial pad right here, so just the initial circle. This part wasn't too bad. Exit out of this sketch. Then we had the second pad, which is this outer circle, and pad 3, which was the inner extrusion. First we had our larger of the holes and then circular pattern, and the same with these, with the smaller hole through the middle, and hole 4 is the other outside ones that were later circular patterned. There's also a pad on the rear. Let me flip that if I can find my part now. There she is, right there. Another hole. Then this plane was made to help with this pocket. This was probably by far the most difficult part just from a learning perspective of modeling this part. And then this hole actually had to be pocketed just because of this rounded geometry. And at the very end, we actually had started this part flipped around, and just to make it make more sense, we did a constraint to rotate the part. So it looked a little bit better when we were. Okay, up next we have our piston, which is subassembly 3. The piston contains 3 main parts. We have our rod, our piston rod end, and our piston, as well as 2 fasteners.
Hey guys, so it's Daniela speaking now. Now that Alexis has taken you through subassemblies 1, 2, and 3, I'll be taking you through subassemblies 4, 5, 6, and 7. Here we have subassembly 4, which includes the top cover, the cylinder itself, the cylinder bottom cover, and the piston rod gland. So here we have the cylinder, and as you can see, there's a lot that went into making this part. So the first thing was, here we go, pretty simple sketching and padding of the first circles right here, and then the cylinder itself, another circle down here. But then we move into making planes and offsetting them in order to sketch these parts right here, and then extrude them. And then overall, at the end, these holes right here, which were M4, use circular pattern tool, same with the ones down here, and that basically wraps up this part. Now we're going to be discussing subassembly 5, which is right here. So here it is. As you can see, it consists of 3 main parts. The first is the port block pedestal. The next is the port block nipples, which are these. And lastly, it has 2 fasteners. So we're going to start with the port block pedestal, which is another part that I modeled. Overall, it starts with an initial base sketch of the figure with an extrusion. The most difficult part, I would say, that I had with this part would be making these pockets right here. So I had to take 2 circles and then at a distance, constraint right here, make sure they were centered, and then have these sort of curved portions. But overall, it worked out pretty well. And then pocketed them a certain extent. Then added these holes right here, which these were all non-threaded. And then another sort of complicated portion was crazy. The back portion right here, because these 2 holes, which are threaded, they are M6 metric thick pitch. These had to line up in the sort of centered, like coming out this way, which I guess if I show you the front view, you'll be able to see better right here. So that was also kind of difficult, but I was able to do it. And then used, again, for these holes, used a rectangular pattern tool. That way I didn't have to take too much time. Here we have the port block nipple. Pretty simple part. The main portion of this that's detailed, I guess, would be the threaded portion right there, which you can see from these details. Now we're going to look over subassembly 6. The model for it is right here. As you can see, it's made up of the compression spring, the pivot spindle pedestal, which is sort of this T, and the cylinder pivot spindle, which is this portion. And I'll rotate it a little bit just so you can see all the different little aspects of it. we are going to wrap up by discussing subassembly 7. Here is the model for subassembly 7, and as you can see, it is made up of the base plate, the nameplate, and 2 fasteners.